Yes.
But wouldn't you agree, though, that science is young? I mean, we only discovered neutrinos, like, how long ago? If you'd been asked about neutrinos before they were discovered, you would say that they probably didn't exist. But now that they're discovered, of course there's evidence for them. So then, what if there's just more evidence coming for God? What if we just haven't found it yet? Or because humanity is so young, we just can't understand it yet?
Well, it's hard to believe that we wouldn't have the evidence by now, because our our scientific abilities have reached a stage where we can look far out into the universe. We know we can describe the Big Bang down to the first tiny fraction of a second. We understand the physics that goes back that far. We can peer deep into matter. We can look at all of the life on Earth. We have all of these things we do, and they just look like they should look if it's all natural. Sure, someday maybe something will be found, but it's not like we're suddenly just starting up in this experiment. We've been doing the experiment for 1,000 years. There was a hand up here earlier than yours, so let's give some people.
Yeah. My question is, I guess, sort of a tactical one. Well, I mean, do you really think that, I guess I'm going to say bold here to be nice. I'm not entirely convinced by your argument that the evidence of absence is not the absence of evidence. And also, I was kind of disturbed by the book title that I saw, Why Evolution is True. It just immediately crossed my mind that no biologist worth their degree would not admit that if some explanation came along that better fit evidence, they would immediately accept that and discard evolution. I guess, I mean, do you really think that making these sort of arguments is, I guess, helping to portray atheism in a favorable light?
Why not? Why not? Because one of the points that we make in our writings, I haven't had again a chance to talk about it, is that atheism is a positive philosophy. It tells us a way to live our lives and find meaning in our current lives, and not worship in some death cult where everything depends on what's going to happen in the hereafter. For example, let's talk about Muslims. Muslims have a good answer for the problem of suffering. They say that, look, our life on earth is such an infinitesimal, unimportant part of eternity that doesn't matter how much you suffer, doesn't matter what you put up with. You can put up with anything because you've got all of eternity waiting for you. I think that's what flies people into buildings, you see. They've got eternity waiting for them on the other side. That's why it's so unhealthy, faith, and why faith should be fought, because it's a folly.
Well, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that, but it seems to me that, I mean, you have your argument for why some of these bold statements you're making are compatible with the scientific method, but there's definitely some criticism that the new atheist movement has been making some claims that are possibly unsubstantiated and not necessarily in accordance with the scientific method. I'm just wondering why it might not be better to just let the virtue of science speak for itself, and instead of aggressively promoting it.
Because we think that religion is an immoral, evil phenomenon that should be eliminated from the...
Is that not a word? Is that not a religious word? I mean, where's your empirical? Where are you going to go and find evil in nature? What is? Find
equal what?
I mean, where are you going to find, like, what is evil in nature? Where are you going to just find it?
Well, all of I mean, there's the history of atrocities. There's the way people will try to force other people to follow their beliefs. There's lots of evidence for that. Anyway, that's our claim.
We're going to take people in order. That guy on the stairs up there has been...
Yeah.
Would you say that it takes faith to believe in atheism? I mean, just as you have theories and whatnot, it does take a certain amount of faith to believe in them, since you weren't there or since you didn't pass away yet. We're not dead, obviously, so it does take some amount of faith.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the talk and in the book. That's one of the arguments that theists make, that that non-belief, that science and so on are based on faith no less than religion, and I claim that's not true, that faith is based on no evidence whatsoever, whereas if there were evidence, it wouldn't be faith, it would be belief, whereas science and atheism are based on evidence.
Would you say that there is no evidence based on God's existence?
On what?
Would you say that there's no evidence based on God's existence?
On what position?
Like on
For God, yeah, there's no evidence for God. Sure, that's the whole theme of the, once there's evidence, I go home, because I would no longer have a case. But as long as there's no evidence, I have my case. Go ahead, you look very excited.
You've used two words here seemingly interchangeably to mean the same thing, religion and faith. Now, faith is just, as you said, it's evidence, it's belief in the absence of evidence, did I get that right? But either way, religion, it comes from the Latin root religio, which means to bind together. So,
yeah.
Can you have faith without religion?
Well, okay. Yeah, if you start having a non-superstitious, supernatural religion where people still get together, and this is actually what's happening in the European countries that I talked about. There are people who don't believe in God, but they still pay, in places like Denmark and Finland and Norway and Sweden, they pay a small tax to pay for the national church, because these all have historical national churches, and they keep these churches going, even though they don't go to the church except a couple of times. They go there to get married, because they wouldn't think of getting married outside of a church, outside of the beautiful church with the white dress and so on. So there seems to be developing in these countries, and I think that a lot of secular Jews have done the same thing, namely they respect their heritage, and they find a lot of comfort in the prayers for the dead and so on, so they go through all that, but they don't do it with any supernatural mumbo jumbo involved. It's all done from a pretty much purely materialistic, naturalistic point of view. Yeah.
In regards to what she said about evidence of God, I believe atheists stubbornly ignore the most outstanding evidence we ever had of God, and that was Jesus Christ. There was evidence in the Bible, there was prophecies of Jesus. Jesus fulfilled the prophecies. There were several accounts of what Jesus did. And you stand there and you say that it's not real, that what these people said.
There's absolutely no evidence outside of the Bible for Jesus Christ, okay? But that's, I mean, you go to a scholar. Scholars have known that for 100 years. So what you're saying is obviously in total disagreement with 100 years of scholarship.
Okay.
Right?
So let me finish first. You're ignoring several accounts of what Jesus Christ did, the utmost evidence of God. And then you're saying there is no evidence for God. And then when Jesus finally returns as the evidence again of God, it's going to be too late for you to do anything. That's just my point of view. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to have to rebuttal. That's all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
Okay.
How about this hand right here?
Go ahead.
So, Chris